I'm ready.
All right.
All right, welcome into Restaurant Topia as Brian does his calisthenics. We got a great episode today. This is something we don't talk about enough, and we haven't talked about enough on Restaurant Topia. But Brian, we're going to talk about credit card processing in some capacity today. Is that right?
Actually, we're going to talk about loans that credit card processors, merchant services accounts are giving out to restaurants.
Oh, okay. Well, this is a nice surprise.
Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restaurantopia.
What I'm seeing, and I see this every January, February, March in Ohio, you would agree with me, those are the lean years in the restaurant business in Ohio.
Yeah, it gets real tough, obviously, because the weather's so bad. People aren't coming in, and everybody's spending gift cards. This is a time in my restaurant operations days where it got real uncomfortable. This is where I take my vacation to hide from the owner because I know the conversations that work. This is a painful time in operations, and I'm sure a lot of people experience this because it's cut cost time. It's, oh my gosh, cash flow short. What are we going to do?
At least in Ohio, I know that you can see restaurants drop 20, 30% in sales. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say so, at least, especially coming off like the peak season, right?
Correct.
But then again, the gift card thing, everybody got gift cards for Christmas and they're all come cashing in. So the time you need the most cash flow is the time when people are using the most gift cards.
That causes a crunch. That causes a gut check moment. And what I want to talk about today is maybe some pitfalls that people can fall into when it comes to borrowing money to get you through these lean months. In an ideal situation, you banked enough money to get you through the lean years and that you're really ready for this time. But, that doesn't always happen. So when things get tight and you're looking for funding, it takes a while to get a bank loan. It kind of sneaks up on you. And I think as restaurateurs, as a general group, very optimistic and thinks it's going to get better and get better as the months go on. And it doesn't always do that.
Yeah, true story there. I'll be honest, this is the first I've heard of this. Obviously I wasn't an owner, so I was never really privy to these conversations. It's a fascinating topic.
They're called several different things. They're called factoring, they're accounts receivable loans, revenue-based financing agreements, whatever you call them, they're basically a merchant cash advance.
Sounds pretty predatory to me.
Well, let's get into the numbers.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why restaurant funding this way should be avoided at all costs.
Gotcha.
The cost of these loans are so expensive. Now, in their defense, they will say these are not loans. These are advances on future receivables. And that is a way that they get around legally on some of the laws that regulate the amount of interest someone can charge.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's break it down. The mechanism of what it is everyone has a credit card processor.
Yep. At least I hope so, right?
Yeah.
Are there any cash only businesses left?
I don't know. I think there's no, I don't think there is.
I want to go there if there are. I want to go there.
The merchant loan or the credit card advance is exactly that. One of these companies will approach you and say, hey, how would you like $20,000? Anthony?
Yes, I'm up.
You need it, right?
So of course, yeah, I'm desperate.
You're behind on payroll. Well, you're not. Hopefully, you're not behind on payroll.
No, I'm just worried about coming out of the bank tomorrow.
Correct. And again, the operative word there is tomorrow. So the need for this cash quickly is kind of what forces some people into this situation. That's why I want really people to be thinking ahead into these months to really understand what you can do for financing. And this would not be one that I would recommend. Processor comes to you or this creditor and says, hey, I have an ability to give you $20,000 today. And $20,000 would save all your problems, right?
Yeah. Give me out a couple of jams. No question.
Now, what is that going to cost me? If I go to a bank, it's going to cost me an origination fee, some time, and whatever the going interest rate is 4, 5, 6% for these types of loans. But if I got bad credit, again, why are people getting forced into these loans? Is it bad credit? Is it no banking relationship? Now, through the pandemic, I think we've seen a lot of that subside, and people are starting to get their credit better and get relationships with banks. But that's something that you really, really want to focus on, is having that connection, because banks aren't in favor of loaning people money when they need it. It's usually when they don't need it, is their favorite type of customer. You got these bills piling up. Maybe your mortgage, maybe, whatever it is, you need this money. So you're at wit's end and you're willing to do anything to get it. So what does it really cost you? And this is kind of the fine print that is, to me, shocking on how expensive these revenue-based financing agreements or merchant cash advances or factoring agreements, whatever you want to call them, really cost you. You borrow $20,000 and you don't even get all the $20,000 in my example here, because with that, and I'm going to have all this in the show notes if the math doesn't really, go great on the radio, but on the podcast, but with that, there's $400 origination fee. And I'm taking this from an actual example of a customer that got one of these and got in trouble. So I really want to tell this as a cautionary tale. If I haven't said that 10 times, it is a funding fee of $50 and ACH fee of $275.
Wow.
So, all right, that seems a little heavy.
Sounds about 4% of your money going down the drain before you even get it.
I wouldn't get caught up in percentages because you're going to be hurting if you look at it that way. Like, you're not going to like this at all. You're not going to like this. So $725 right off the rip of your $20,000. So they're going to hand you a check for $19,275.
Okay, but I'm desperate. I still need it, man.
You still need it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what are they going to do? Again, they're not loaning you the money. They will continue to tell you this is not a loan. This is not a loan. We are buying future credit card receipts. So they're buying the next $28,000 of credit card receipts. $28,000. So how does that work? They pick a specific percentage that's not going to put you out of business. Because obviously, if they just took $28,000, you're like, well, I'm out of business. I'm out.
So it's not 100% extortion. It's only partial extortion.
Right? All right. True. It's heavy. So they're going to take 15% of all the credit card receipts every day for the next, say, 90 days.
Not even by the month? Just every day?
No, every day. So they hand you the $20,000 check, and days later, not months later, days later, the $243.48 starts getting taken out of your merchant account.
Wow.
At the end of the day,
just for the record, I think we talked about this before. I mean, if you're profiting 12%, especially in this environment, you're doing really well, right? So
correct.
Essentially, you're telling me they're just going to take, and obviously it's applied during the week, but for my next 8 weeks of weekdays, they're just taking my profit away from me.
Correct.
So this sounds a lot like what you mentioned last episode. We talked about inflation, that old thing called the death spiral. That sound familiar? It's like quicksand. It's like you made a move, but you're sinking a little bit more.
It is. And I'll tell you, that's so great that you brought that up, because one of the cool things on this revenue-based financing agreement is pay off existing balance is one of the fees on here that you can deduct out of the 20,000. So what you can see on here is it is a continuous cycle of debt. To get out of the last financing agreement, they're going to enter into a new one and a new one, and then it becomes
I can take out an advance to pay off my old advance.
Correct. So it's very reminiscent of a payday loan.
That's exactly what I was going to drop. So this is the B2B version of a payday loan.
Essentially, yes. Now, again, they will say it's not a loan. They're saying they're factoring or they're buying future receivables. But at the end of the day, what does the money cost you? Whether or not you call it an interest rate or not, it's still there. Of that $19,275, you are going to pay $8,725 for that money. So is that not insane?
That's 50%.
It's heavy.
It's not compound. I mean, that's just 50% straight up. Wow.
So if I'm taking $243.48, that's the minimum that I'm going to take out. I could take out more. Again, if you had a $4,000 day, I'm taking out 15%. So I'm going to take out more. But again, just assuming you only have these $243 days for the next 90 days, that I'm going to pay that back that quickly. Is there not anyone in your life that you could borrow $20,000 for that would charge you less than $8,725? Wow. Think about that.
No, that's staggering. It is
staggering. But you never are able to recover, in my opinion, from that. I think that it puts you behind. To me, it's really difficult to recover.
I mean, you got to be really deep in that quicksand, right? This is reminiscent of a loan that my Uncle Guido and Uncle Carmine tried to give me when I graduated high school is really what it comes down to, Brian. Like I had to kiss the ring, pay 50%, that sort of thing. There's some talk about some broken knees in there if I didn't pay it on time. Like that, this is that kind of loan, man.
Well, let's talk about collectability. So one, you have to, use a credit card processor typically that's associated with them or them. You are signing this personal. So you have a personal guarantee on this money also. So if you go out of business in February and you don't pay them off, you're on the hook personally for this.
Yeah, the LLC doesn't matter anymore.
No. It's, right. There's no
it's full liability, not limited liability, right?
Yeah, no protection. Yeah. I've seen the ability to tack on any fees associated with collection.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they extract the money like right out of your processor, right? Like you don't have to pay this; it just automatically gets withdrawn.
Correct.
But if you did the old switcheroo in the bank accounts, they're going to knock on your door.
They're gonna notice when on day 2 that you were open and you had no credit card receipts that this is what's happening. You're seeing this. There's a lot of people getting into this game. For SEO purposes, I'll put them in the link, but I encourage you not to go to these links. But Square Capital, American Express is doing certain loans associated with your credit card. Now, are they these factoring agreements? Are the terms as arduous as these? I don't know. So it's something you want to look into. But to me, I would steer away from any revenue-based financing agreement or merchant advance that has these types of terms because the money is so expensive.
Yeah. And what's tough about this too is I don't know if you've ever fallen on hard times before, but as a proud individual, it's very tough sometimes to go to a friend or go to that relative or go to that business partner and say, look, I need 20 grand, man. I'm that desperate, where I could quietly do it and salvage my pride for a fee. Right. But man, $8,500 to salvage my pride. Like, come on.
Yeah. And maybe the reason I'm bringing this episode up and it was so just powerful to me is because we've all been in that place where we're hurting for cash, and a lot of times it's just poor planning ahead of time. So again, if you're doing good right now, make sure you solidify that relationship with the bank. Make sure that you are using that credit card. Make sure that you're cutting back on those expenses. These are the types of moves that you can make now to make your operation stronger. Listen to Restaurant Topia. Make sure that you're focusing on your prime cost. All the things that you can do as an operator to really prevent you from being put in a situation where you are forced to take a loan of this nature.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you said with poor planning, and I realize that in the normal environment, and let's say there's some semblance of that in this situation, but also too, how in the hell have you planned appropriately for the last 2 years? That's my question, right? So I would argue these companies that you're seeing springing up are really advantageous because they understand a lot of times this environmental factor that we're dealing with that's called a pandemic. Like shit, no matter how well you plan, it's still going to serve it to you. Like, I mean, I've seen operators that have most pragmatic and budget minded folks ever, and they still can't survive in some capacities. Right. So now's like the perfect opportunity for these prowlers to come out and prey on desperate folks. And
that's where you really have to make the decision. Is the operation worth saving? If I'm at 3 units, do I go down to 2? What's my full risk exposure look like? And again, it goes back, I think, to pride and how you feel about things. And you want to be successful, but
this topic, I'm not gonna lie, like I have real emotions about this, right?
Any financing solution should improve your financial situation and provide, and this is kind of the key thing, should improve your financial situation and provide long-term business success. And that's really the key here.
And right now we're all fixated on the short term, right? We're just trying to keep the doors open another day or two, and everything's day by day by day. That long-term vision or that long-term planning is kind of out the window for the time being. So again, we're incredibly vulnerable to these types of companies that are dangling this amazing looking carrot. It's crazy.
It's a lifeline when you feel like you only have one option. So again, if I can leave our listeners with any advice, check out our show notes. You can see the math, look at some of the things that you should be concerned about. The reasons to be wary of merchant credit card advances is, the APR, again, it's not a loan, but the APR can be triple digits.
It's crazy.
Yes, higher sales mean higher APR. There's no benefit of repayment early.
You get penalized if I had to guess.
Well, it's essentially you're just paying the $8,000 on that $20,000 quicker.
Yes. Oh, man. So the daily interest rate's even higher, but think about 50%, man, over 90 days.
No, right.
Wow.
Okay. There's little to no federal oversight on this type of transaction. The debt cycle danger is so high. And then the contract is written just like a banking contract or any other contract where you have zero bargaining power.
Mm-hmm.
It is one-sided. So if things do go sideways, really be cautious of it. And I really encourage everyone to check out the show notes, be cautious of these loans, look at other financing options that you may have, talk to your trusted advisors and see what other opportunities are out there for you.
So what other options, real quick, before we depart here, because I feel this coming to an end. It's a great topic, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
What other options would you recommend? I mean, is there cash calls out there? Not everybody has that lifeline where they have that partner or mentor or whatever that can help them out in the short term. Is bringing on a partner to inject some cash in your business a viable option? I mean, because then you got to give up ownership, right?
Yeah, I would be cautious of that just because of the complexity, whether or not that partner is a value add.
Yeah.
But through the pandemic and certain programs that are out there, there are things that you can apply for and get approved for at a bank, which again, a bank was traditionally not a place that was restaurant friendly.
Yeah.
And with the pandemic, I think we're seeing them being a little bit more restaurant friendly and the ability to do that. That's where I would look. I would look at maybe some other assets that you have that you could leverage, but always be planning for, am I putting enough cash away that I can deploy it so I can be liquid in a time of need? And then also look back at your own operation and see how you can either save or deploy that capital to make you more money down the line.
This is the absolute epitome of needing to make a decision without emotion involved.
100%. Is this going to help or hurt me 90 days from now? Just by saying I may still be in business in 90 days does not necessarily mean it's the right decision.
Yeah.
Because it can be a deep hole to climb out of. And again, I want to return back to pay off existing balance. That's on the front of this revenue-based funding agreement, because that must be something that people do.
Crazy. Well, man, I can only imagine if there's someone out there on the fence. Hopefully this helps you and persuades you to get off of that fence.
They're going to make the money seem so attractive because you can use it to pay off taxes, and they're going to say, hey, you're going to avoid the penalties and interest. You can use it to pay your employees, to prevent any lawsuits. You can use it to pay your rent, to stay in the restaurant. So I understand the need, and I'm not trying to
not be tone deaf,
lessen that at all. I understand the position that you're in. I'm just saying this is such an expensive way to obtain money. There are other options out there that are better that you probably have available to yourself. So
in your priority scale, this seems like it's one step before you decide to close the doors. This is the only time you should consider that option.
I will say that it's a high likelihood that you may not be in business in the next 6 to 12 months.
Wow. That's somber and powerful at the same time, but loud and clear. I get it. And I see it. It seems pretty obvious. Great, man. Great topic here. This is something we've never uncovered before. It's not something I think anybody's ever really talked about. First time I've heard about it, and I deal with a lot of operators. Kudos to you for bringing it to the table, man.
No, I see it a lot as an attorney, and I can tell you, I asked around, and it is not well known in the industry, but I know it's highly used. So I think you kind of peeled back the onion. It goes back to the pride thing. This is not something that you're going to talk a ton about.
Nope, absolutely not. Much like that credit card advance, right? Yeah.
Don't do it.
Hey, Mom, guess what I did? Aren't you proud?
Oh, super proud.
Right. It was only awesome, 50% interest, man. Well, Brian, thank you. And thank you to everybody out there listening, especially to our sponsor, Hillcrest Foods, the one and only broadline distributor servicing only independent restaurants, Ohio, family owned and operated since the early 1970s. Fantastic company if you're not familiar. Brian, thank you so much, man. Always a pleasure.
Awesome. Yeah. This is a high quality pod. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Adios.
Thank you for listening to Restaurantopia. The gratitude that we have for each and every one of you spending your precious time to listen to this podcast is immeasurable. Please make sure to tell a friend about this podcast. And also, if you have any feedback for us, visit us on restaurantopia.com and drop us a line. You can also subscribe on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. Thank you and have a great day.
Do you want to redo it?
No, I kind of like that actually. You want to redo it?
No, I like that. No.
Okay.
So
it's honest and it's pure, right? Like that's what I kind of like about it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like that too.
Can we talk about how quicksand is not an issue in my adult life, but growing up, I thought it was going to be a huge deal? Like,
No, that's true.
we were always
Right,
scared of pit, or like remember Beastmaster, that movie where he got stuck in pit sand, or quicksand. It was
What
in every movie.
Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
Like I thought again, I grew up out in the country, but I thought everything around my town was like quicksand.
yeah. It was a serious deal in the 80s.
Yeah, every time someone went off to college, they never came back. I was like, it's got to be the quicksand. It's got to be the quicksand.
Has nothing to do with your hometown at all.
No, nothing. How dare you? How dare you? The Paris of the Midwest.
I've never heard that line so aptly applied. I love it.
You know what the people want. We are excited to announce the Restaurant Topia VIP Text Club. Join by texting the word podcast to 844-928-4257. You will get access to exclusive content, industry news, deals, announcements, pro tips, and more. The VIP Text Club is an exclusive community of independent restaurant owners and professionals. Join today. Message and data rates may apply. Please check our website for our terms of service and privacy policy.